Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, your source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment, presented by King Mictus.
All right, guys, another episode of Shellonomics. We are here with our good friend Rich, the owner of TMNT, a collection, who literally, for all us Turtle fans, has turned a negative into a positive. Rich, how's it going today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, my man. So before we get into your awesome TMNT documentary, Final First, how did you get started in Ninja Turtle comic collecting?
I think it was probably 1985, like probably just a year or two after the first issues. And I was a big Spider-Man fan, and I used to go to my local comic shop. And I remember seeing Ninja Turtles on the wall. You know, those first four issues were oversized, so they were always posted behind the counter of comic shops. They were always on the wall. And as soon as like maybe issue 7, 8, 9 would come along, you could maybe find those issues. And then, I started reading them, and I'd be like, this is kind of bizarre. But then you'd say, like, can I see one of those issues behind the counter? And they'd be like, no, you can't open those. So then I went to the collected books and started reading, issues 1 through 4, and started seeing like it was kind of a cool concept. And I've been collecting pretty much since the beginning. I mean, I 1983, 84, when the first issue came out, I was 11. So I know I didn't see them initially then, but it would have been just a year or two later. So
as a Ninja Turtle fan, in regards to having all these comics, I'll just put you onto them because what were your thoughts also on the first movie? Because they said that was more true to the comic fans. I was born in 84, so you got a little bit of mileage on me. I'm actually curious to know how older Turtle fans appreciated that first movie.
So I liked the movie. I thought it was great, but it was right around the time of TMNT Adventures from Archie. And, the Turtles in like 89 were growing in popularity, and they were, especially with Playmates toys, but they weren't the Turtles that I knew since, 85, 86, since I started reading. So those Turtles were violent. They were black and white. They didn't have colored bandanas. So everyone would say, oh, you're a Ninja Turtles fan. And I'd be like, I am. I like the Turtles, but I mean, I always loved the original Mirage Turtles. Like that was and Tales of the Turtles with Jim Lawson's 7-issue series. That's probably my favorite series ever. Like I loved Lawson's art. I loved the story. But I liked the movie. Like the movie was fun. But 89, I'm entering high school, right? So it's not super cool to be a nerd back then. Like that.
That's why I wanted to put you on the spot. Correct, Rich.
It's more cool to be a nerd now, but it wasn't then. So that was something people knew about me if they were close to me, but I don't think I made it like widely known that I love Ninja Turtles.
Gotcha. Well, there's some of us where the love never died, and I've had a couple other guests in the same situation where, Turtle Mania for me was, 7, 10 years old. And when you get older, you go through phases. You had Turtles to WWF wrestling was popular, and it's like that was more the male, masculine-oriented thing. And it's like, well, I still got my toys on the shelf, and I still like the video game. So I understand where you're coming from in that perspective. So a little bit more into the comics. You were much more into the black and white Ninja Turtles compared to the color and the Archies. I'm curious as to why. Is it just because it hits more home? Like they're just, again, it's the original, but just I'm starting to read those comics, and I noticed they like beer. They're just more kind of laid back, and like I'm sure you would agree. Did you still know who each turtle was without the colored headbands and the?
Absolutely. Like within the first, I would say 6 months of me reading the first Turtles book, which I think my first #1 that I got was a 4th printing, and it was signed by Kevin and Peter on the cover. It was pre-signed, and I bought it. I saved up like all summer to buy it. But that's probably the first time I'd read issue #1. So I read issue #1 and I'm like, okay, Shredder dies. That's kind of weird. Like the whole first issue to me was always intriguing because it seemed like a beginning, middle, and end all in one issue. Like I was like, so what do they do in #2? Like I was like, they just killed the dude. So yeah, so like I would. So I found those issues like 2 through 4, but they're all black and white, right? Like there was no color at the time, and so that's really where I guess that's why the Mirage Turtles always like even my shirt, right? Like this, these are the turtles that I love, right? Like the red bandanas, and you know to know who they were at the time, like when you're reading the comics, you had to pay attention to the weapon. You didn't have any color. They didn't even have red bandanas at that time, right? Like it was just truly black and white. So, you know, I associated all that. When the colored bandanas came out, I mean, my biggest question was how did they determine the color? Like, where did that come from? Like, where did blue come for Leonardo? Like, I remember going, like, because that was always my favorite turtle. I always loved Leo. I loved Raph. But when the colors came out, I was like, so what? Like, what was the basis for that? Like, it really was because I had read, I mean, what 88, 89 was when they started colorizing, and I was really kind of confused. I remember as a kid, you just going, "That's interesting." I don't know who decided that one, but that's why I love the black and white. Like honestly, it's because of what I started reading. And I think that's the way it is with anything, right? Like when you get into something, that's what sticks in your brain. And then, you know, the turtles have evolved for years and years. And I like every iteration of the turtles. Like there's no iteration I'm like, I hate it. I hate it. There's some I like more and there's some I like less. But I like everyone's take on the turtles. But when the turtles became mainstream and they were colored bandanas and they looked different, like Eastman and Laird drew a turtle that to me was turtles, right? Like these turtles with the little beak. But when they took the beak away and it was more of a flat-faced turtle, it was just interesting to me. I was like, these don't look like the same characters, but I know that they are. But I don't know. That's where my black and white comes from.
I feel the same way. We've talked about this plenty of times on Shellonomics here on YouTube and Spotify, whereas, you know, I grew up in the Fred Wolf era, and as you can tell, that era has not died. They still have them, but it's not the same passion and animation. Like you say, you respect them because, again, it's Ninja Turtles, but I understand where you're coming from. It feels a little different. It's not off. It's just different. That's all.
Yeah, it's totally different. And, you know, when I was reading the Turtles originally, it felt like it was meant for older people, like not, I wouldn't say adults, but I mean, it wasn't meant for kids. Like right from the get-go, I felt like I was reading a comic that was pretty adult and I felt older. So I'm 11, 12 when I'm reading it. I feel like, hey, this is cool. I'm reading a adult comic. And then the Archie stuff comes out and I'm like, okay, well, this is clearly made for children.
Big jump off. So you said earlier you're a big Spider-Man fan, and as you know, back in the day there was the comics code in regards to court. If you were to rate the, I guess like as an age for the Ninja Turtles original comic, what age would you rank it? But on your own, you know, opinion.
The very first issue.
Yes, first one, yeah, where Shredder dies and he asks them, and Leo gives him a chance to kill himself. And
I mean, would I be ranking it back in the 80s? Code?
That's a good. Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, yeah, I would say because that's right. It was a different era back then. We were a little bit more, you know, not as uptight as we are now.
So remember, go back and watch a couple movies from the 80s. So Gremlins, rated PG. Go back and watch like
even Who Framed Roger Rabbit was kind of dark, even though that was PG.
Right. But I'll tell you, before PG-13 in the 80s, like when I showed my kids the movies I loved in the 80s and I rewatched it with them when they're 10, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is good. We got to shut this off. So I would say, so I'll do a double ranking.
There you go.
So in 84, when it came out, I would say it was an 18 plus rating. Like it would be more of a rated R. Today, it's probably 13 plus, right? Like I don't think, I mean, any rated R movie I go to now, there's like 10-year-old kids in there. And I'm like, who are these people bringing their kids to these movies? I was like, there's like heads rolling down the stairs. But so I think it was more adult at the time it came out, which made it feel kind of cooler because it's an independent comic and it was pretty. I mean, in 40 pages, you've got like tons of blood. You've got like murders. You've got like an assault on a woman, right? Like,
Correct.
There's so much in there that isn't really meant for younger kids. But then we're like, hey kids, take a look at Turtles #1 now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit here, and like you said, you were collecting still during high school, but what was your calling to say, you know what, I kind of just want to have all of them? And can you elaborate a little more on all of them? Like we're talking, do you get the variant issues and do you also get the trade novels?
Yeah. So kind of the nature of collecting started for me when let's say I can't remember the exact issue, but it was around issue 7 to 11 that I started reading the comics. But because it was difficult to find those early Turtles books, every time I found one, you'd be like, oh my gosh, issue #6. The crazy part is I'd never seen issue 6 and I didn't even know what the cover looked like, right? So if I was in a comic shop and I saw Turtles #6 or even 5, like I still remember that rush of being like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen this cover. And the like second printings would come out like of, issue like 7 or maybe like some of the other issues. And I just would be, I'd be enamored by the covers. So I would buy them, right? Thinking I'd never see them again. Like honestly thinking they were the rarest thing in the world. And only because I wanted to compare them to my first printing, or maybe because I hadn't even seen issue 5. But then after a while, I realized I'd go into a comic shop and they said, oh, there's a third printing of this one. Do you want it? And I'd say, yeah, I'd love that. And I started realizing if I just kept all of these, I could start just keeping record of what I was missing. And so let's say I was missing, issue 9 or issue 10. And then that was my search as I'd go into every comic shop wherever I'd go. Do you have Turtles issue 10? And when I found that, it felt like the collection was coming together. I didn't set out to collect them, but once I got them all, now I didn't get the first printing until I was probably in my 20s. But other than that, I wanted to keep track of what I was missing and tried to search. So it was kind of like the hunt, and that's what started the collecting.
I want to ask you a little bit more about this hunt because, again, this is a different era here, ladies and gentlemen. We're 2025. You got eBay, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp. When you started this journey, you didn't have that except for that big, thick phone book to find out where the comic shops were. So did you enjoy that hunt a little bit more? Was it more satisfying back then compared to how you have to hunt now?
Yeah. In fact, I actually enjoyed it more back then. I mean, I still enjoy it today. But it's a little bit too easy to just send an email to someone, or like some of my very rare items I found while I was in college when I was in Chicago on trips with my soccer team. Right, so we'd have an evening free, and I would go to the comic book shop in Chicago, which I'm in Colorado. That's where I was born and raised, but being in college in Chicago, I'm like, this is a whole new realm of comic shops. And I would go in there and I would find really rare stuff, like rare turtle stuff. And of course I couldn't afford it. So, I put it on the list of that's what I need. And, I'm talking like gobbledygooks, like some of my Turtle Mania silvers, like things like that I saw in those comic shops. So I always loved it. I always loved going in and seeing what they had. And I mean, let's be honest, that's what makes this reprint I did of #1 so incredible. The smell of the newsprint. When you walked in an 80s comic store, there wasn't glossy printed pages. It was all newsprint. It has a smell. And that smell was the comic book shop of the 80s that I remember.
It's just like when you go to a movie theater, you love that smell of popcorn, or you go to grandma's house and you got those fresh baked cookies, or you go to your girlfriend's house, she's making something for you. So I understand smells, and that's what we're going to get to in a little while here. So you got this collection going. You've got drawers that remind me of Bruce Almighty, where Jim Carrey goes into this file and that thing just shoots out. So how did what's your game plan? How you organize all your comics? Because again, like you say in your documentary, which we're going to talk about, the final first, as a completionist, you're really never done. So how do you make sure you have all these, again, I know it's in a secret place, but like, how do you organize your comics?
So, so all my graded issues, which I don't do a ton of grading, but I do grade a lot of my very rare stuff, just more for protection. But that stuff all goes in its own Pelican case, and so I have custom foam designed for those, and so they go in there, so they're protected in there. But the rest of the issues in my collection, they all get put into Rubbermaid, like magazine containers. It's kind of hard to describe, but they get stacked in there, and so they go front to back. So when you have, if you have 30 comics and they have a staple in them, so they're all bound with the staple, they all lean to the right when you have a stack of 30. But they don't do that if you do staple on this side, and then so you alternate them, then they stack really straight. So that's what I do. I put them in bubble wrap, put them in a Rubbermaid, like maybe 30 to 35 comics. And then they go into a larger Rubbermaid bin. So it'd be stacked 4 Rubbermaid bins on one side and 4 of the smaller Rubbermaids on the other. And then there's 8 in that. And then it gets, so in the middle of that, to keep the bins separated, I'll either do like some kind of bubble wrap, or because I'm running out of room now, I put boxes in the middle. And then I actually put my hardcovers in the middle of those boxes wrapped in bubble wrap, just to maximize space. So, it's a lot of books.
And do you still, now as a collector, do you actually still read the books before you store them away? Because there are so many crossovers, and
I read them all. I read them all digitally though.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
Gotcha.
The only time I really open any of the actual issues would be if I want to see if there might be a cover, like because I'll get them all usually because of my comic book store. So I usually order all the books. They come in about a week before the release date, and so let's say IDW hasn't sent me the covers for an issue, or sometimes I'll look inside to see if the covers are accurate, but I usually get the digital pre-release copies from IDW the same week that the issues arrive. So I read everything digitally. So
it is a little bit more I would say just easier to read for sure. That way it keeps the condition of your comics a little bit less, even though you're not going to read it with butter on your fingers, but keep it more in a mint condition. Let's talk a little bit about your website here. What inspired you to do a website for all of us Ninja Turtle fans? I really love the layout. You have your own blog. Tell a little bit about yourself, your collection, some links, and you also list on the right side, when the new Turtle comics are coming out. So tell us a little bit about your website.
Yeah, so that started as an idea. I think it was over 10 years ago, and essentially my whole collection was maintained in a spreadsheet, right? Excel spreadsheet, and so I had all the issues listed in there, and I felt like it was a shame that I had been maintaining all these books, and I had actually scanned all the covers of every book that I had, just so I could see the picture of what a cover looked like for each issue. And then I got to thinking, I was like, but I essentially have a full database of all Turtles books that have ever existed, every variant. And I kind of wanted to make that, to let everyone know what my collection looked like. Like, this is what it looked like. And then it kind of evolved into a little more when IDW took over publishing, because there was so much to keep up with, back in the Mirage days, when let's say Turtles Volume 4, number 18 came out, it was one book, one cover. Like, there's not much to keep track of. But then IDW comes along, and then Turtles number 1, Volume 5, right? It's like 100 covers. So it seemed like something that I needed to keep track of them anyway. So I thought, why not build a website where I could keep track of all the covers and then also include all those covers in my database, so that the database is fully accurate every week. I keep it up to date. And the release dates, that came from unreliable release dates, pretty much from Diamond, from everybody. They're all unreliable. You could never go to one source of truth for release dates. And I felt like I knew how to kind of navigate the comic industry. So I just started keeping track of the actual release dates. And like Diamond will post a release date of, let's say, July 3rd. And then you'll see somewhere else it's July 10th and whatever. I actually do tons of research to try to find out what the actual release date is. And some of that involves just direct contact with IDW. I have a great relationship with multiple people at IDW. And so sometimes I can't figure it out. I'm like, listen, I've got 5 release dates for one issue, and I'll just email them. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's going to be August 12th. And then there you go. And so everyone else will see it as all these other dates, and then they'll be like, but Rich has it as August 12th. And I think it's starting to gain some momentum where people are like, but if Rich has it as August 12th, it must be August 12th. And because I really do strive to keep them up to date. So,
well, us Turtle fans appreciate that, Rich. And a prime example, this is being recorded May 22nd, 2025. There's a lot of hype about Casey Jones getting his own series, and we're not going to spoil it here. You're going to have to check out Rich's website or find it somewhere else. But you do have the official release date when that Casey Jones series comes to town on your site. So I'm very thankful that that is there, because, as you say, just for us as fans, it's just nice to know when stuff's coming out instead of coming soon. And like you say, there's 5 or 10 different dates. So
yeah. Well, I'll also remember that like IDW is notorious for saying August, right? And it'll be like October. So all I can do is just keep up with what I find online. But just today, Boom Studios announced Power Rangers Turtles Volume 3. So I actually was just finishing up getting that post ready to go live. It'll probably go live tomorrow. Solicitations will be out tonight. So I got to get all the pictures downloaded, and but it's a ton of work. Like, it is a ton of work every week. But usually every 4 weeks when the new solicitations come out, it's a good day or two of trying to get the site updated. But I think people think it's pretty seamless, so that's what I want.
Well, and it's a very nice old school, no nonsense website. You don't have, no disrespect to the new days, but I just like simple, click a website, let me find what I need and get to it. There's no Ninja Turtles jumping at you, doing karate action. It's just get there, get what you need, easy clickable links. And
there's no ads.
Yes, I was actually
I've
going to say
never,
that.
I mean, I could probably make money off of ads, but
Sure.
I like, it's one thing they always annoyed me. And so that was what I said. I really wanted to create a website that was no ads. Like, you can come onto my site and nothing's tracking you. Like, no, there's no like stuff popping up in the sidebar. Like, that stuff annoys me.
And I really appreciate how open you are too, because you also say on there, besides the about me, to get to know you a little bit better. It's like, hey, if anybody has a question, hit me up. You love to talk comics. So us as Turtle fans, at least me personally, really appreciate that, because it's very nice. Because I've said this a lot about anybody I've met in the Turtle community, whether it's the toys, the video games, the comics. Everybody always just seems so giving, and it just is. It's just a great fandom. And let's talk a bit more about fandom here, where Rich has actually given us a fantastic gift. So you got this site, and then eventually, I want people to check out his documentary. It's the best 10 minutes you'll spend this Memorial Day weekend, I guarantee. If you're able to check it out, we're not going to spoil everything, but I just want to know a little bit more as to what inspired you to actually go with this, and how you ended up getting the rights, and all that process, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yeah, well, it's kind of an interesting story, really. So negatives, right? So I came across these negatives that were they seemed like they were every page of Ninja Turtles #1, right? Like, so do I need to explain what negatives are?
Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah, just for those listening who may not be comic fans, yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, so the negatives are the opposite of what gets printed on the actual pages of comic books, and that's how they would make comic books for years and years, back until the digital age. So when you had a film camera back in 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you took a picture, it was on a roll of film, and that's what a negative is. It gets developed, and so when we're just talking black and white, everything you see on the page printed on a book that's black would be white, like clear, on a negative, right? And the opposite is true. Everything that's printed white would be black. Like, so when they're used, you actually shine light through them on a photosensitive plate, right? Or photosensitive paper, right? So when, like, you'll probably see old movies, and you see people developing film and they're hanging them up, right?
Great.
Well, what they did is they'd run those negatives through, and then they're turning them into a positive image on photosensitive paper. So these negatives are of the turtles are exact opposites of what you see printed on the page. So every page that had the black and white is just reversed. So seeing those, I knew that they had some significance. I had actually worked in the printing industry, so I knew that this probably had to have some kind of purpose. So I got the negatives, and anyway, I spent so much time authenticating them, comparing the negatives to actual first printing, my first printing, or actually my second printing, and I was comparing it to pictures of another collector's first printing, because he had one that was ungraded. Mine was graded, and I didn't want to open it, so he was kind enough to send me images of his first printing. But anyway, all to say, I authenticated them, and then I had them for a couple years, and then I thought, man, it's kind of a shame that they're just sitting in this box. But I knew, like, so if you ever go and you want to see an X-ray, so an X-ray is like a negative, right? Okay. So you see people put an X-ray of someone's broken bone up. You see the doctor put it up on that thing. That's essentially what a negative film is. It's like that. It's real, like, wobbly. But these negatives were all laid out, and they were arranged so that they were, some were upside down. And then I proved that if you folded those in a certain way, they would produce Ninja Turtles #1 in the exact orientation. And I actually have that on my website. If you go read some of the articles, in one of the articles, I have a downloadable PDF that you can take and print out and follow the instructions on there. And you can make yourself a tiny little miniature Ninja Turtles #1. But it'll show you how you take those. That's what they call them, signatures, which is 8 negatives back to back.
Okay.
You just print those out back to back. And if you follow my instructions and you fold them and then you cut just like you're supposed to, you'll have a mini #1. And that's how I proved that the negatives were like the real deal. But anyway, regarding the printing of it, so once I start, I put the negatives into a display and I started showing them around. But in the back of my mind, I go, these were used for printing at one time. And I started doing research if they could be used to be printed, to print #1 anymore. And pretty much everywhere I went was no, technology doesn't exist. They don't have the presses, the machines that you need to do it. So pretty much doors closed everywhere. But I kept researching and I kind of found that it might be possible if you had the right, if you could get the right connection, right? Like if someone that knew of these old Goss community presses being in existence somewhere, someone that could do the negative scanning, things like that. So I actually took the negatives out east. I think it was, where are we? We're 25. So it would have been the end of 2023. Okay. And I was at Rhode Island Comic-Con. And I remember Rhode Island Comic-Con did not say, they said they didn't have room for my negatives exhibit. And I was really frustrated because I was actually bringing them out anyway. And I said, listen, I'll set them up here. And they didn't want them set up. And I was really frustrated about it. And I had maybe 3 months before gotten in contact with IDW and said, listen, I have a great idea. Next year, 2024 is going to be the 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles #1. And I think it's the perfect time. We try to do a reprint of #1, but not just any reprint. We do it from the negatives. We do it on newsprint. And I mean, it was almost a universal no from IDW. They were like, it's too expensive. It's, unfeasible.
Being negative about the negatives.
Oh, it was really frustrating because that was my only inroads. And then, so I got pretty frustrated about that. But so I'm at Rhode Island Comic-Con, November 2023, and I'm actually working with Kevin Eastman at that show, and they introduced me to a guy, and his name was Jeff Whitman. And Jeff Whitman was an executive at Paramount, and he is pretty much the guy that green lights projects for comic books, and Jeff was just the coolest guy. And he like I say, he's an executive, but I mean, if you meet Jeff, you would think he's just a normal con attendee, right? Like he was down to earth, like he was super friendly, super kind. And so we just started chatting, and I kind of pitched to him at the show. I was like, what do you think about taking these negatives that I have and making a #1, but we do it on newsprint. We essentially make a reproduction of #1. Make it look exactly like it. And he was like, I love that idea more than, he's like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And so I would say like maybe a week later, I got an email and he's like, I'm going to green light this project because it's the coolest thing I've ever heard of. He's like, you are holding on to like the Ark of the Covenant Turtles stuff. And he's like, your stuff. And he's like, I trust that you're going to do this right. And so that's where the licensing came in. So I worked with Paramount to get the license to create this one book. So it's a license to create the books and the prints and the things all associated with it. And so he greenlit that project in November of 23. And remember, April of 2024 was the 40th anniversary. So I had 3 months to get this project done. And as you can tell, we did it. It was insane amount of hurdles to overcome. But I mean, you asked about the licensing. That's where it comes from. So I have a license from Paramount through IDW to publish these books.
Oh my gosh! And then who? So when you talked to the Paramount person, how did you come up with? You know what? I also want to film just a little cool, special way, like your gift to us fans to see this actually being printed. So how did the documentary Final First actually come to ahead, and how'd you guys come up with the name? I'm pretty sure it's an easy way to get that name in there, but just those two questions for you.
Yeah. So the documentary is Final First Edition, right?
Okay.
Like that's the name of it. And so how that came about was simply me asking a company or basically inquiring of videographers. So let me start over. When I knew this project was going to happen, I knew I had to take the negatives out to the East Coast because we wanted to do it in Maine. But I knew if I was going to take that journey with the negatives and I was going to do all that, I wanted to record it. And I set out to get a videographer company in Maine because I didn't want to hire one in Colorado. I wanted to hire one where I was going to end up. And all I asked them was, when I go out and I'm scanning these negatives and we have them all out and we're doing all the printing stuff, I just want someone to take pictures and get some video of all this happening for posterity, for history, but not a documentary. That wasn't where it started. I contacted a couple companies. I heard back from pretty much no one. And then I heard back from a company I had contacted, and they were called True Life Media. They were located in Portland, Maine. And this guy was like super interested in this.
Nice.
And he said, so I know you just want to do some videography, but he's like, what about like a documentary? Like, this would be cool. And we talked a little bit, and then he's telling me the price of this. And I'm like, okay, well, here's my budget. And so his price and the budget, right, we actually decided that wasn't going to work. And so I kept searching. And then about a week later, I got an email from him, and he said, I can't stop thinking about this project. He's like, this is the coolest project I've ever heard of. Like, he's like, I keep thinking that you're going to find someone that isn't going to do it justice. And I'm going to see it, and I'm going to be like, I could have done that so much better. And so we negotiated some terms, and we decided we'd go forward with it. And we would do a true documentary, and not full length. It was just going to be like 10 15 minutes, but it was going to be better than just video, right? It was going to tell a story. And these guys, I tell you, like, True Life Media, Portland, Maine, it's the best. And these guys, they took care of all the filming, the directing. They just told me what I needed to do, and it was probably the most fun I've ever had on a project. Like, these guys are my friends now. Like, that's what's so cool is I consider them friends, and we spent so much time together over the course of 4 or 5 months.
Gosh. 4 or 5 months, 10 minutes for a 10 minutes finish. That is incredible.
Oh, I can't even. I mean, I still talk to them occasionally. I would love to do a longer version of this.
Yeah.
I would love to have, like, we have to have at least tens of hours of video.
Oh, sure.
And I would love to see if we couldn't make something bigger. But of course, we'd have to have some like bigger Paramount pockets for that. So if Paramount's watching and they want to do something, maybe we could do that.
Well, I think it's a great watch. Again, guys, it's on your YouTube channel. It's also on another YouTube channel for free. You don't have to pay anything. You just sit back and enjoy history being made. There's a wonderful cameo. We're not going to reveal who, but there's a nice person that also makes an appearance in there with Rich that you'll be impressed with, who authenticates pretty much that those are the true negatives, which I thought was really touching, and it had to be an honor for you. So what also I like about you, Rich, is you're a giver as well in most of this Turtle universe. You actually enjoy bringing this to other Comic-Cons. So have you attended any? And what was it like just meeting some fans who were just like a 3-year-old kid looking at an ice cream truck?
Yeah, that's actually my favorite part. I love bringing the negatives out in the exhibit. Like it's probably like anyone will tell you, when if you ask me a question about the negatives, you better be prepared to stay for a while. I'm gonna give you some shock and awe, because there are things that are in the negatives that like if I'm going to show you in the book, and it is an exact reproduction of the first printing, and I'm going to show you all the anomalies that the negatives produced in that first book. And there's 3 or 4 pages that I always go to, but there's a page that I think it's page 15. And in the last probably 2 years since I've had the exhibit out, it's the one that blows everyone away. And I won't give that secret away. But if anybody has a first or a second printing and they can look inside either one, go to page 15 and tell me what the difference is on that between the first 2 printings. And how could one set of negatives produce 2 different pages? And I can explain it, and you would be blown away to know how one set of negatives could do. But you just have to come see it sometime.
Absolutely. Do you have any other goals with this comic here? Because we're going to plug this here, guys. You can actually get a copy of what Rich has put together on his website. Do you have any other goals? Yeah, oh, perfect. Yes, guys, we're going to link this Rich's website on our YouTube channel here. If you guys haven't yet, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We have loads of TMNT content, and we're going to be able to pin Rich's website so you too can get a copy of this. Oh, does that look nice? You can hear the angel music in the background in your mind when you just check that beauty out. Gosh, the original black and white. And like you say, if you guys check out the documentary, just where it was printed, did you like that smell too when you were filming that spot? Did it bring back the good old smell when you were printing all those comics?
It does.
Nice.
It does. Yeah. In fact, this is new newsprint, but I mean, one of the things we did to try to make this authentic was we tried not to use completely bleached newsprint. We tried to source the newsprint that was as close to what we thought would be the original. So, yeah, it smells like newsprint. It does not smell like a modern comic. It has a good old smell to it.
Oh man. So yes, Rich, where can people find this documentary? And if people do want to get in touch with you and your website, please plug all your socials now. And if there's anything else I missed, feel free to share.
Yeah, so the YouTube video, it premiered on YouTube, and it was from I can't remember the company now, but it's also on my YouTube. It's linked on my page. If you just go to my homepage, you'll get all the links to it. And then I have a web store where you can buy this book. Multiple different conditions. Just the way it was produced, the boxes, some comics are better than others, but price ranges for everybody. So get a piece of history, because it truly is like holding first printing.
I agree. I'll probably be getting one sooner than you think. Another question. You are also on Instagram too. What's your Instagram? Because you do post on there from time to time as well, correct?
Yep, I'm at Rich TMNT. So I think there's an underscore in there, but we can put all that on.
I'll gladly link when we're done here. As we bring this in for a landing, I usually like to end with somebody's favorite Master Splinter quote. Do you have one from any of the comics that stands out to you? This is going to be different because anybody I ask, they always give me either something from the movie or the cartoon. So this is going to be, hopefully you can have one. If not, no big deal. But just any, if you can dig deep, as to a favorite Master Splinter quote.
So I'm going to have to go into the book.
Okay.
We're going to have to go to my favorite Splinter quote.
Oh wow! From day one. No, this is awesome. Now.
Yeah. No, it's cool because it's my favorite because he's telling the backstory, and I think, let's see. I'm looking here. Where is?
No better feeling than flipping those pages, man. Just
oh man, look at that. Look at that smell.
That's what I'm saying. You can just feel that smell. Pick up that aroma, baby.
But I think it's on this page right here. It would be page 13, or maybe 12, like 12 right over here. Okay. And it's Splinter sitting down talking to the turtles, and he says, both tried to win her, but from the start, she loved only one, my master Yoshi. And I think that's pretty cool because that tells a lot in just one panel. But I tell you what, all the Splinter pages in here, like I think it's pretty much like 8 or 9 through like 14 in #1. Like they're just so good. Like, come on, that's the origin of Splinter right there.
Yeah. Well, guys, cool. This has been awesome, Rich. If you guys want to get to know Rich a little bit more, check out the documentary. Stop by his website. Get some Shellonomics of your own in regards to the comic world of Turtles. He's got it very nice and organized, very detailed, whether it's you're looking for a certain year or a certain crossover. It's very, very easy. Rich, do you have any final words for us?
No, I thank you so much for having me on. This is I love to talk Turtles. I especially love to talk Turtles #1. That's my passion. I love it.
Well, I appreciate you giving Mr. Shellonomics a Shellonomics education in what negatives are. So, Rich, we appreciate your time, and have a great Memorial Day holiday weekend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. Bye.